George thought the hard part was walking out of the office with a box in his hands. He thought the hardest moment had already happened when the door closed behind him, when his coworkers stood there with quiet faces, pretending not to stare, pretending not to know what had just happened. He thought the weight in his chest that day was the worst of it, but he was wrong. The real weight came after. It came the next morning, when his alarm went off at the same time it always had. For a few seconds, George reached toward the nightstand out of habit. His body remembered the routine before his mind did. Wake up, shower, white shirt, coffee, keys, drive to work. Then he remembered. There was no work to drive to. He lay still in the quiet room, staring at the ceiling while his wife slept beside him. The house was peaceful, but it did not feel peaceful to him. It felt like the world had moved forward without him, like everyone else had somewhere to be, something to do, someone expecting them. George got up anyway. He showered, he dressed, he made coffee. Not because he had somewhere to go, but because he did not know who he was without a routine. For more than 20 years, his days had been shaped around work. Work told him when to wake up, when to leave, when to eat, when to come home. Work made him feel useful, needed, responsible. Now the hours stretched in front of him with no shape at all. At first, he told himself it would be temporary. People lost jobs. People found new ones. He had experience. He had references. He had spent decades in customer service, calming angry people, solving problems, keeping things together. Surely that still meant something. So he sat at the kitchen table with his laptop and began. He updated his resume. He rewrote the summary at the top 5 different times. He removed words that made him sound old. He added words that sounded modern, adaptable, team-oriented, problem solver, customer-focused, reliable. That word stayed with him. He had been reliable his whole life, reliable at work, reliable at home, reliable for his wife, his children, his bills, his mortgage, his aging mother when she needed help, his coworkers when they were overwhelmed. But reliability did not feel like a strength anymore. It felt like something the world had stopped rewarding. George applied for the first job before lunch, then another, then another. By the end of the day, he had sent out 12 applications. Some asked him to upload his resume, then made him type everything again. Some asked for years of experience, then warned that the pay was entry level. Some asked if he was comfortable working weekends, evenings, holidays, and overtime. He clicked yes. He clicked yes to almost everything. The next morning, he checked his email. Nothing. By noon, one message arrived. Thank you for your interest. We have decided to move forward with other candidates. George read it twice, even though there was nothing to read. No explanation, no person, no reason. Just a polite door closing. He told himself it was normal. By the end of the week, he had applied to 37 jobs. 3 rejections came back. The rest said nothing. That silence was worse than rejection. Rejection at least admitted he existed. Silence made him feel invisible. His wife tried to encourage him. "Something will come," she said softly. George nodded because he wanted to believe her. But each day the kitchen table became his new office. His laptop stayed open. His coffee went cold beside him. His phone sat face up, waiting for calls that never came. He checked job sites in the morning, again after lunch, again before dinner, again after everyone went to bed. He started recognizing the same job postings appearing again and again, like fake doors painted on walls. They looked open from a distance, but when he reached them, there was no way through. Some jobs wanted 20 years of experience and paid less than what he made 15 years ago. Some wanted a college degree for work he had already been doing most of his adult life. Some wanted video interviews before speaking to a real person. So George sat alone one afternoon, staring into the small camera on his laptop, answering recorded questions from a screen. "Tell us about a time you handled a difficult customer." He almost laughed. A time? His whole career had been difficult customers, but there was no one there to hear the truth in his voice. No manager nodding, no human being noticing the tiredness behind his answer. Just a timer counting down in the corner. He gave the best answer he could. Then the screen thanked him and disappeared. Days passed. The bills did not wait. The mortgage was still due. The car insurance still came out. The electric bill still arrived. Groceries still cost more than they should. Gas still disappeared from the tank. Every normal part of life kept asking for money, even though the money had stopped coming in. At first, George and his wife tried not to talk about it too much. They were careful with each other, gentle, quiet. She stopped buying little things for the house. He stopped stopping for coffee. They ate what was already in the pantry. They delayed what could be delayed. They told themselves they were being smart. But every small cut reminded George of what had happened. He noticed the way his wife paused before adding something to the grocery cart. He noticed when she checked prices twice. He noticed when she said, "We don't really need that," even when they did. One night, after everyone had gone to bed, George opened the banking app on his phone. The number was smaller than he expected. He stared at it for a long time. It was strange how a number could change the temperature of a room. His chest tightened. He leaned back in the chair and rubbed his forehead. He had spent his life trying to make sure his family never had to feel this kind of fear. That was what work had meant to him. Not status, not ego, not a title on a business card. Work meant protection. Work meant groceries. Work meant the lights stayed on. Work meant his children did not have to see worry on his face. Now the protection was cracking. The next morning, George applied to jobs beneath his experience, then jobs outside his field, then jobs he never imagined applying for. Customer service supervisor, call center associate, remote support specialist, front desk coordinator, warehouse intake assistant, delivery driver. He told himself pride had no place in survival. Still, something inside him hurt. Not because the jobs were beneath him, but because after 20 years of showing up, he thought the world would at least let him land somewhere. He thought experience would count. He thought loyalty would count. He thought being dependable would count. Instead, every application felt like standing outside a locked building, tapping on the glass, while people inside pretended not to hear. Then came the interview. It was online. A young woman appeared on screen, kind enough, professional enough, reading questions from another screen. George sat up straight. He spoke clearly. He explained his experience. He talked about difficult customers, team leadership, problem-solving, loyalty, patience. The young woman smiled and nodded. Then she asked if he was comfortable with the starting pay. George paused. It was almost half of what he used to make. For a moment, he could not speak. He thought about the mortgage, the bills, the bank balance, his wife's face, his children's future. the health insurance ending soon, the way everything was connected to the job he no longer had. "Yes," he said. The word felt like swallowing glass. After the interview, he sat in silence. He had not gotten the job yet. He had only agreed that he was willing to take less money, less security, less respect, less than what his life had been built around. And maybe that was what frightened him most. Not just losing the job, realizing that once you fall, the world expects you to accept less and be grateful for it. That evening, his wife found him sitting in the living room, still wearing the white shirt he had put on for the interview. "How did it go?" she asked. George looked at her. For a second, he wanted to lie. He wanted to say it went well, that things were looking up, that they would be fine. But he was tired. So he told her the truth. "I don't know who I am in this world anymore." She sat beside him and took his hand. He looked down at their hands, then at the room around them, the couch they had saved for, the photos on the shelf, the small pieces of a life built slowly, honestly, year by year. He had thought losing his job was one event, but it was not. It was the beginning of 1,000 smaller losses. The loss of routine, the loss of income, the loss of confidence, the loss of feeling needed, the loss of believing that hard work would protect you. George did not cry. He did not yell. He did not break anything. He just sat there quietly, holding his wife's hand, realizing that the world had changed while he was busy doing everything right. And maybe that was the cruelest part. He had not failed because he was lazy. He had not failed because he gave up. He had not failed because he lacked effort. He was still trying. Every day he was still trying. But trying did not feel powerful anymore. It felt like throwing stones into the dark and waiting for something to answer. That night, before he went to bed, George checked his email one more time. No new messages. He closed the laptop slowly. For the first time, he understood that this might not be a short chapter. This might not pass quickly. This might not be temporary. And in the silence of that realization, George felt something deeper than fear. He felt the quiet truth that so many people carry but rarely say out loud. Sometimes a person can do everything right and still be left behind.